Hello and welcome to the Fade Out Podcast with me, Bailey.
And me, Jasmin.
We talk about films. Go. Today we're going to be talking about the new Park Chan-wook film, The Handmaiden. This is a South Korean film from the director of Oldboy, kind of the basic foreign... If you've seen 2 foreign language movies, this is probably one of them. It's a sort of erotic thriller, I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
About a young Korean woman in Japanese-occupied Korea, and she and this man pretending to be a count make a plan to marry him to a rich woman, send her to an asylum,
and then
make money.
Take her money, yeah.
Take her money.
They're basically scammers.
Yeah, and it sort of unravels.
Yeah.
From there. So, Jasmin, what would you say your general thoughts are on the film?
I really enjoyed it. It was not what I thought it was going to be when we saw the trailer, and
What did you think it was going to be?
I thought it was going to be very serious about, like, having to live as a handmaiden for weird... By the trailer, you could kind of tell it was going to be some weird erotic things happening. So I thought it was going to be about maybe how it is to be a handmaiden in a very strict and rich, scary, big house.
It's not about that, though.
No, it's not. Absolutely not about that. Which is what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be quite like a very serious movie about...
It's quite funny, actually.
Yeah, it's way more fun with it, and I was surprised by that because I don't know. I don't think that came across in the trailer that it was going to be. Obviously, they didn't want to spoil it.
The trailer's quite edgy. Use that kind of
it's very like
music,
ooh,
hypnotic.
but which kind of actually conveys what the movie is, even though you don't think that's what it's going to be.
It's very
maybe it's just me.
It's very stylish. It's very, very stylish. Lots of nice camera moves, quite flashy camera moves,
but quite beautiful as well.
Yeah,
like, quite nice composition.
It's well thought out. The composition's well thought out. They're not stupid. They're not like flashy for flashiness sake.
Very naturally lit as well. Like everything looks really not stylized in lighting at all. No. Very natural. Very natural. Very cool. Very cool.
So I thought the film was good. It's well made. It's well put together. Park Chan-wook definitely knows how to like structure a scene. Like all the scenes work really well on their own, and it's quite funny. It's a little silly. It's over the top.
Definitely.
With like the character motivations and how far they go. Everyone wants to kill themselves or kill someone else.
Yeah, and they take that very lighthearted.
It's a very like plot heavy movie. It's more about plot than characters. I mean, the characters are like solidly defined.
Yeah.
But they're not like that deep or interesting or anything. It's very much about the story.
What's gonna happen?
Yeah, what
How
happens.
is it
That's
happening?
I mean, it's a thriller. You know, that's kind of the way
tension,
thrillers work, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's split up into 3 parts. Each of them sort of recontextualizing the last part, if that makes sense.
Yeah, usually seeing something from a different perspective than it was in the last part.
You find out at the end of the first part that the handmaiden, she sort of gets tricked and she's thrown into this same asylum instead. The count is in cahoots with this handmaiden who's working for, I'm going to call her the lady just because I can't remember her name. So the lady, the handmaiden, the dude. So they're in cahoots basically to steal her fortune to some extent. And at the very end of the first part, they get to the mental asylum and they go to take in
the lady.
But instead they take in the handmaiden. And we find out, going back through in the second part, it takes us pretty much back to the beginning.
When she was a kid, they go all the way back to when
the
lady was a kid.
Further, yeah. So it goes all the way back and covers some backstory for the lady, and then recovers the whole of the first part of the movie.
Yeah.
From a different perspective. So we see how the lady and the count were working together to trick the handmaiden, so that the lady could take the handmaiden's identity and escape from her weird, creepy uncle.
Yeah. So we've been it's scheming back and forth.
Yeah.
And at the end of part 2, or somewhere in the middle of part 2,
more the end, pretty much the end.
Yeah, kind of. The lady and the handmaiden have kind of started having a relationship, but at the point where you think that both of them are scheming each other, you don't understand, is actually the lady now in love with the handmaiden, which you think she is the first part, and you think she's just very coy and doesn't know anything about sex and anything, which gets kind of debunked in the second part, where you find out that she's playing up this very innocent character for the handmaiden.
Yeah, and she's made to read these erotic novels for her uncle.
Yep.
And all his rich
and the
friends.
handmaiden can't read this because she
can't read it all, but and so she's obviously very verbally versed in sex, so she does know more than she leads on.
Yeah.
But at the end of the third part, or the end of the second part, sorry, the sort of ties twist again.
Yeah.
So the handmaiden is now working with the lady to get rid of the guy.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit complicated. And
a little bit silly.
Yeah,
I think that's... I kind of liked it, but I wasn't... It's not... It doesn't make it a masterpiece, because I kind of never liked these kind of, ooh, we tricked you, and now we trick you the back.
And I think to some extent it loses some of what's good. Like, there's an interesting dynamic in that sort of ménage à trois in the first part.
I don't know what that means. Stop with your silly...
in the first part, where the handmaiden is in love with the lady, and so is the guy who she's working with.
The count that's going to marry her. Yeah.
So there's an interesting relationship between the three of them.
And also that you see that funniness with like how the handmaiden can be her normal self with the count when she thinks that the lady's not seeing it.
Yeah. Obviously,
the lady knows that both of them are schemers, and it kind of makes it funnier.
Even before that, before any of the twists are revealed, that initial relationship between the three of them is quite an interesting relationship.
Yeah.
It's quite a dramatically sort of textured relationship. So in a way, it kind of loses some of the interest of that situation by going back again. Like, it kind of feels like it goes a little bit too far to justify the twist. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they could have just, like, revealed it instead of showing almost every scene again.
From her perspective.
From the other perspective. And so I think the twist is good and it is, like, fun. But there's some stuff...
I think it goes for too long with, like, how it's now all schemed from the count and the lady against the handmaiden.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, we get it.
Yeah, you could have just kind of said it and dropped it. And
I think something they could have shown that, because there's some funny scenes where they're like
there are some good
speaking
parts.
Japanese and she doesn't understand Japanese. No, she doesn't know Korean.
No, she doesn't know Korean.
And so the count and the lady are speaking Korean about her. She obviously, the handmaiden, doesn't understand Korean.
She doesn't understand Korean. She is Korean.
Shit, the other way around.
Japanese.
So it's kind of fun in that way.
It's definitely fun. But there's no part that's not fun, except for some parts. But
which part? Do you know?
Okay, we'll get to the sort of what I feel is a little bit of the elephant in the room. That is the sex scenes between the handmaiden and the lady.
Oh, do you not like them?
Did you?
Well, I liked them because they were kind of pretty, but of course, you know, it's very... Well, you tell me what you think.
Okay. I can kind of define it with so they kind of get into this sort of lesbian relationship because the handmaiden is originally showing the lady what it would feel like to have sex and convincing her to marry the count, showing her what this pleasure is like. The first time it happens, the lady has like some rough on her tooth, and she gets a little thimble kind of thing on her thumb to rub it off, and so she's putting her thumb into her mouth, and some of the angles made me legit think of porn. Like, there's one shot where the thumb is in the lady's mouth and it's like a POV from the woman, and it looks like a POV kind of from a porn where someone's getting their dick sucked. And I thought it was like a bit
silly, yeah.
Not so much silly, a bit like, this is made by a man. It felt a bit wrong and a bit creepy. Like, it didn't feel sensuous, it just felt a bit porny.
It felt, yeah, I can see what you mean, but it didn't feel as kind of thick and tension-y as it feels with the start of that scene.
Yeah.
Where you're like, she's feeling it, but you don't know if she's getting the tension of the place. But then you get that scene, and they kind of hold for it quite long.
Oh, yeah.
For you to really understand that it's not meant to just be trying to help her out. It's actually being quite erotic. And yeah, I do agree with you. It does kind of feel a bit just porn.
Yeah, a little.
That point.
And then the second sex scene, which you see twice.
Yeah,
has
from both
some
perspectives.
It kind of has like a vagina POV.
Oh yeah,
like
that is a weird shot.
I think it's supposed to be a POV of the other lady looking between her legs,
but it's
not.
It
looks like the camera's in the vagina
because
because when she does go down, her head goes down to the vagina, so it is supposed to be a POV of the other woman.
But it doesn't look like.
Legit looks like a vagina POV.
But the thing is, you see the Handmaiden's face, and you see the calves of the persons.
Yeah.
On each side of its head. So it is a POV of the vagina because it's not the thighs, which the lady would have seen if she looked down and she saw a woman between her thighs, not between her calves.
It's true. God.
Maybe that was just because they had to shoot it that way. They couldn't show vagina.
But
it looks
really
legit
weird.
like a POV of what the vagina is seeing.
Yeah, it reminds me of
And it's not. It's a weird shot. I didn't like when they cut to that one.
It really broke the moment.
Yeah.
I just didn't like the sex scenes really at all. I thought they were a bit creepy, a bit exploitative, and very, even if unintentionally, male-centric. Now that brings me to the third part, because I have a little theory about this, and I'm not so sure about it. But in the end, we see her uncle, who's made the lady read all these perverted books.
He's the actual rich guy.
Yeah, he's the one with all the wealth. And he kidnaps the man.
Yeah.
After this is all, lots of plot things happen. I'm not going to go through and try and explain it because it's just confusing. Yeah. Just watch the film and it'll make sense. And he kidnaps him and he's asking about what happened when he had sex with the lady.
After they got married on the marriage night.
And there is a pretty hilarious part where it's showing the time they had sex the first time.
So they go back to when they were supposed to have sex.
So when the man and the lady were going to have sex the first night they got married. And it legit like pauses halfway through just as it's building up. And the man's like, come on, you can't stop the story there, showing it that he's telling that story.
Yeah.
And it's a proper like dick tease to the audience, if you know what I mean.
I love that scene.
It's really good. And it makes me think that maybe that's kind of what the movie's about, is about that kind of weird perversity in erotica, because she reads these erotic novels and the sex scenes are very full on, they're very explicit, and a little bit pervy. And the fact that he wants to hear that in more detail kind of makes me think that's what the movie is doing. It's kind of jabbing at the audience, saying, you're this kind of perverted old man for wanting to see that.
I see what you mean, but it doesn't have enough of a case for me to think that was...
No, I don't think it's...
With that scene, I think it tried to do that. That scene was about that.
Yeah.
But I don't think the other sex scenes were meant to be like that.
No, it just made me think of it. And even if that is the case, it's totally having its cake and eating it too. Like, it's totally cheating to, like, say, bad boy, don't like erotica, when it does, like, hardcore erotic scenes. Like, that's not... That's cheating. That's not how this works. Don't make things erotic if you don't want them to be erotic, you know?
Yeah.
You could make a sex scene that's, like, gross and realistic and, you know, a bit more... grotesque. You can do that. That's easy to do in some ways. He chose to make it erotic. So even if that is the choice, and then when the lady and the handmaiden escape at the end, there's something super artificial about how it looks. Like the lighting when they're on the boat going away looks super fakey. Yeah, so that kind of backed up my theory to some degree. It made me think that this whole thing is sort of a fantasy in some sense. Not a super concrete theory. Like, I'm not like saying this is well thought out, but it kind of makes sense, right?
Because it sounds like a book would do things in 3 parts.
Yeah.
And also, the Handmaiden is the name. Oh no, but that does kind of make sense, doesn't it?
It does,
right? Because there's some of the erotic things that the lady reads that has these weird sex toys bells that they in the end actually use. The handmaiden and the lady uses in the end, and every one of these books had these weird names. It was very like, what was it? Woman with her lingerie, something like that.
The decadent woman who sells lingerie.
Yeah.
I think that was a great title.
And the movie's called The Handmaiden, which sounds like one of those books. And the cover for the movie looks like the cover of one of those books. So it does kind of feel like a movie, and the movie is one of those erotic novels.
You're the old man reading it being a bit of a creep.
Yeah.
It's kind of a strange theory. I don't know if
that makes sense in the parts, like chapters.
Like, the only thing I read about this film is some reviews when it played at Cannes last year. So, like, this is not a theory I've backed up or gone through. I watched the film once. We finished it, like, 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, we should watch it again.
If anyone's listening to this who has seen the film, or maybe just wants to watch it again, just think about it. I'd be interested to see if other people...
That kind of makes the movie better if it is.
Right.
But I think that happens a lot. I usually do this when I watch a movie. And I talk to you about it later on, and I'll be like, but what if the idea is that it's the movie itself, it's something. It's usually, I don't know what examples, when does that happen, when I've tried to make the movie seem better than its content. I think it was The Love Witch or something.
Oh, The Love Witch. I mean, that's a whole other story.
We should talk about that next time.
Yeah, we'll talk about that sometime. It's an interesting movie. I'll have to bring the Sight and Sound review.
Yeah.
Sight and Sound interview.
But yeah, what I was going to say was that sometimes I make the movie better by applying in too much thoughts into it than what it was intending to do.
But I think there's nothing to this theory. I mean, once again, I'm not claiming it's a airtight theory, but it's something that I thought about towards the end of the film.
It does kind of feel like some things... Maybe it's very loosely that.
There's one scene I quite enjoyed, actually, right near the end. Again, I kind of feel like the third part is...
I feel like you're going to say the same thing that I'm going to say now.
It was something I was talking to you about.
Yeah.
Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah. So, my favourite scene... My favourite scene is towards the end where the Count...
The man. That's what we call him.
He's about to die, and it replaces a scene that we've seen before, and it slowly kind of stops the shot, like it almost freeze frames the shot out of focus. He's
out of focus the whole time, and they're going into the mist, so the whole image gets more out of focus.
Yeah, and then it literally
jolts, freezes for a second, comes back,
and then freezes again.
Then fades to black.
And then fades to black, which we talked about, and we thought it symbolised dying, or like the
his last moments, his last memories, you know?
Yeah.
And it just goes. It's really clever, actually. It's a
really lovely scene.
Really visually great way of showing the experience of death.
Yeah. And I think another thing that I really liked is the way that they sometimes would cut away from a scene with the sound still going. They did a lot of quick, snappy, nice cutting where it would juxtaposition something. I think it's one scene where the handmaiden is in the madhouse and she's eating these rice cakes, and it has like a little bug in it, and then that image cuts directly to where the lady is sitting in this really nice restaurant eating like some kind of nice dessert. And it cuts exactly, so the image is the exact same thing, but with a really nice dessert with like a strawberry on it.
It's really like a really lovely film to look at.
Yeah.
It's very, very visually exciting.
Yeah.
Sometimes
the shots are very nice.
I think the shots are mostly well thought out. I don't think they're all genius shots. I think sometimes style comes over substance.
Yeah,
but not to too much failure. It's very enjoyable style. Yeah. It never feels dumb or forced, really.
Or never too over the top. Yeah. You can accept
there's
it.
There's some scenes in other Park Chan-wook films I've seen that go a little... Some of them go really too far. There's one scene in Oldboy I don't really like. Everyone likes it, but I don't.
I haven't seen Oldboy.
That's fine. So he holds up a hammer to this guy and it draws like a line of where the hammer's gonna go. And it just feels too, like, fake. But here, everything felt organic, like, part of the story.
Yeah.
Because if it's part of the emotion of the story, you can get away with a lot of weird techniques because it feels right.
Yeah.
And I think it definitely feels right. It's a well-shot movie, a well-edited movie. You know, if, like, even though I have reservations about it, it's very watchable, like...
Very entertaining to watch.
Yeah, I recommend it. If you want to watch a good film, put a good film on, you'll really enjoy it.
And you don't have kids around.
Yeah, or family members, to be honest with you.
You don't want to watch it with your family.
But like,
or maybe you want to.
I don't know, it depends what kind of family you have. If you have a really creepy uncle, show him this film.
I do have something to say about him. I found that it went a bit far with him being this creepy man.
He was a bit evil, wasn't he? He was a bit cartoony.
Especially in the last part when he's like torturing the man.
Yeah.
The man that was going to marry her.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think he's a little bit too comically evil. Like, he has this black tongue.
Why does he have a black tongue? Is it eating?
In Japan, long time ago, I don't know that much of Japanese history, but in Japanese history, people would blacken their teeth to show they were rich enough to afford sugar, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe it has some relation to that because it does turn out he's not Japanese. He is Korean, I think, but he wants to be Japanese.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure about that. It might be something in South Korean culture that we don't know about.
Yeah.
But that's just something that I know about that could make sense. But yeah, he gets a little bit too evil. I get that he's perverted. I kind of like that.
But I feel like it goes a bit far in the end.
Yeah, it does. It gets a bit silly. He gets a bit cartoony.
But I like the thing that they kind of set up this basement, but you never saw the basement, and you were like, okay, so is it like a sex dungeon? Because he's like that. So, like, and then they show it in the end, and it just... It's nice that they didn't show it until the end, but it felt... So he has this, like, these bottles and can. I don't even know what to call them.
They're like preservation jars of like preserving like penises and
vaginas and teeth and.
But it comes a little bit like, how many people did this guy kill?
Like
it's
why
implied
did he kill
that he
people?
Killed one person, but why did he kill the other people? He killed his ex-wife, her aunt.
Oh yeah, they did.
That's implied, but it just feels a little bit too much.
I feel like, why was he killing people? And it was kind of never... Like,
it made sense for him to kill that one character.
Yeah.
But why would he have, like, other penises and vaginas?
And it felt a bit far. Like, I could totally understand him having this really, like, big collection of erotic novels, because that's the way he likes to think about sex.
I like that.
But it just felt like, so now he's murdering people and, like, preserving their penises.
Yeah, it was...
And it just felt a bit far.
Yeah, I agree.
Cartoony, as we said, yeah.
But again, that might lay into the sort of artificial theory I had. Because that does happen in the third part that gets quite artificial. Should we do our ending thoughts now?
Yeah.
So overall, I think, like I said before, it's a good film. You'll enjoy it if you watch it. It has flaws. The sex scenes, to me, are the biggest thing that bothered me for it. Mm-hmm. But other than that, it's really good fun. If you want a bit of, a kind of more artsy thriller, It's a good watch. You'll enjoy it. It's not gonna blow your mind or teach you much about anything.
Yeah.
But you'll enjoy it. It's a good time.
I'd agree.
And now we're going to move on to our next section. Well, our only other section.
Our only other section.
Mubi Movies, which is a section where we talk about a film that we saw on Mubi recently. Mm-hmm. This section might be a little bit confusing right now because we're recording the first few episodes before releasing any. So these films might not still be there. But it's just a sort of general film recommendation anyway, and it's just sort of a theme to focus them.
Yeah.
But once we do more episodes and the time between release and record and release will be less, this will make more sense. Anyway, I'm going to talk about a movie that came on Mubi just a few days ago, called Rouge by Antoine Bourrard. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. It's French. This is a really weird thing. So it seems to be a cut of another film by this director called Portrait of the Artist. They both have the same plot synopsis. Pretty much no one has seen Portrait of the Artist. There's like no reviews for it. No one's seen it on Letterboxd. And this is half the length but has the same plot synopsis. And so it's about this guy who's an actual film director. What's his name? Let me just look that for you. Bertrand Bonello, who made a short film that's really good, but I can talk about that another time. And he's looking for a painting that sort of epitomizes the idea of monstrosity, whilst this weird red mark is growing on his back.
Oh, yeah.
And the woman who's showing him around these paintings' hair gets longer. That's kind of all that happens.
That's kind of what happens with hair, isn't it?
But it's like, it goes longer in a shorter period of time than expected.
Okay.
So each day it gets like quite a bit longer. It's like, I'm not saying this because I think it's a brilliant film. I just think it's really odd. Like, because I don't know why there's a half the length cut of this. It's not terrible. There's some really enjoyable scenes where they're talking about paintings. They're just sitting there chatting about the paintings. I don't know much about painting. And so I found it interesting just to see what they're sort of getting out of it, and it helped me see something in them, and I was interested in that search. But everything feels very cut short. It really feels like half the movie is gone. Yeah. Because this red mark thing goes absolutely nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
The hair thing is only mentioned like twice, and it kind of evaporates, and there's not really any conclusion other than the lady with the long hair disappears. It's really strange. It's not a great film, but if anyone knows about it, that would be interesting to me. Yeah. I would love to see the longer cut and see what I make of it, because I think there's good things in it. Yeah, and if it was a full film, I'd be interested. So yeah, I mean, if you want something that's kind of a bit of a mystery, like I'm kind of interested in it because it's a bit of a like, what is this thing? I want to find out. Check it out. It's on Mubi's Special Discovery, which is where they release a movie. Yeah. So I might try and get in contact actually with Mubi, see what they say about it, just see if they'll respond, and maybe I'll talk about it on another episode. Yeah.
So what's the movie?
It's Rouge by Antoine Bourrard, a French movie from a couple years ago. It was originally made. That's my Mubi movie. Cool. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Fade Out podcast. This is episode 2.
No, episode 1.
No, I let you win.
What?
I let you have the first one as episode 1. This is episode 2.
This is episode 2.
The Handmaiden.
The Handmaiden, yes.
Thank you very much for listening. And we'll see you next time.
Yes.